What if one of history's greatest empires never collapsed? Imagine a world where the Roman Empire withstood the test of time, continuing to expand and evolve over centuries. Would you be speaking Latin today? Would our modern world look completely different? Let's explore this fascinating alternative history. The Roman Empire's fall wasn't a single dramatic event, but rather a slow decline spanning centuries. By 476 CE, when Germanic leader Odoacer deposed Emperor Romulus Augustulus, the Western Roman Empire had already been crumbling for generations. The eastern half survived as the Byzantine Empire until 1453, preserving many Roman traditions and laws. But what if Rome had overcome its challenges? What if emperors like Diocletian or Constantine had implemented reforms that truly saved the empire from internal corruption, economic troubles, and external threats? The butterfly effect would be enormous. First, let's address the language question. Would we all be speaking Latin today? The answer is both yes and no. Languages naturally evolve over time, even without conquest and collapse. Classical Latin had already transformed significantly by the late Empire, diverging into what linguists call vulgar Latin, the everyday speech of common people. If the Roman Empire had persisted, Latin would have continued evolving, but likely remained the prestige language of government, education, and commerce across Europe, North Africa, and the Middle East. Think about how English has evolved from Old English to what we speak today, nearly unrecognizable to speakers from 1,000 years ago. Our modern Latin might sound nothing like Cicero's speeches. It would have absorbed vocabulary from conquered territories, simplified grammar, and developed regional dialects. These dialects might have become distinct enough to be considered separate languages, similar to how French, Spanish, and Italian developed from Latin, but with stronger connections to their Roman roots. The world map would look drastically different. Without Rome's fall, the power vacuum that allowed for the rise of Germanic kingdoms, Islamic caliphates, and eventually the nation-states of Europe would never have existed. The Roman Empire might have eventually expanded deeper into Germania, Persia, and possibly even reached India and China through sustained campaigns. Christianity would have continued as the state religion, but without the schism between Eastern Orthodoxy and Roman Catholicism. The Pope might have remained subordinate to the emperor rather than becoming a competing power. Islam might never have expanded beyond Arabia, if it emerged at all, completely altering the religious landscape of the Middle East, North Africa, and parts of Asia. The Renaissance might have been unnecessary. The knowledge of the classical world wouldn't have been rediscovered because it never would have been lost. Scientific advancement might have continued uninterrupted, potentially accelerating technological development. Imagine the Roman engineers gradually improving their already impressive aqueducts, roads, and architectural techniques over centuries. Alternatively, the stability of a continued Roman Empire might have stifled innovation. Without competing states driving military and economic advances, technological progress might have stagnated. The printing press, industrial revolution, and digital age might have arrived much later, or taken completely different forms. Democracy as we know it might not exist. The Roman Republic had democratic elements, but the empire was autocratic. Without the fall of Rome, the gradual development of parliamentary systems in England and elsewhere might never have occurred. Perhaps a Roman constitutional monarchy would have eventually emerged, with the emperor sharing power with the Senate. The Americas would likely have been discovered and colonized by Romans rather than separate European powers. Native American civilizations would have faced a unified Roman colonization effort rather than competing European nations. The Americas might be integrated provinces of Rome today, with Latin-derived languages replacing native tongues. Would modern Roman citizens enjoy technological luxuries similar to ours? Perhaps. Roman engineering prowess might have led to earlier industrial and technological revolutions. Or perhaps different priorities would have created a world with advanced architecture and civil engineering, but less emphasis on consumer technology. What about social progress? Slavery was fundamental to the Roman economy. Without external pressures and new philosophical movements that emerged after Rome's fall, abolition might have come much later. Women's rights and other social reforms might have followed very different trajectories. The continued existence of Rome might have prevented the fragmentation that led to nationalism and the nation-state system. Instead, we might see a world organized around a central imperial authority with significant provincial autonomy, more like the European Union on steroids than today's world of sovereign states. Art, literature, and culture would have maintained stronger classical influences. The great artistic movements of the post-Roman world, Gothic, Renaissance, Baroque, Romanticism, might never have emerged in their familiar forms. Roman aesthetic sensibilities would have evolved differently, creating an entirely different artistic legacy. The Roman legal system, already the foundation for much of modern Western law, would have developed continuously, potentially creating a more unified global legal framework. Scientific terminology, already heavily Latin-based, would be even more so. So while you wouldn't be speaking Caesar's Latin, you might be speaking its direct descendant in a world dominated by Roman institutions, Roman law, Roman religion, and Roman culture. The world would be unrecognizable, perhaps more technologically advanced, perhaps less. More unified, but potentially less diverse. History is shaped by both grand forces and random chance. The fall of Rome wasn't inevitable, and neither was the world we inhabit today. Our reality emerged from countless historical contingencies, making the question of what if not just a fascinating thought experiment, but a reminder of how precarious and remarkable our actual historical path has been.